Behind the Shades.
You find out none of that stuff really mattered. None of that stuff really mattered, right? Because this person never makes you laugh and they don't meet you as a partner, right? You never take these things into consideration until you're in that situation, right? Like you really wanted that independent, go-getter, self-made person who had that income. And then you realize that kind of person doesn't really do partnership great, right? Like they're so used to being the person who calls the shots and being independent that when it comes to making, middle ground with you and compromise and things that they struggle with that. And suddenly you realize that's really important to you. And some of that stuff you figure out because you get it wrong. We find out these things about ourselves through experience. And sometimes and often it's through failure or perceived failure and setbacks and things where we just go, oh, okay, wow, that matters to me a lot more than I thought, or it matters to me a lot less than I thought. And it cracks me up. I think about it often in terms of that old movie When Harry Met Sally with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, where they're at the end of the movie and they're finally getting together and they're like, do you squeeze the toothpaste from the top or the bottom? Do you sleep with the blankets up or down? Do this and that and the other? And they're like, she's like, do you want to talk about, politics, whether or not you want to have kids, religion? And he's like, that crap will all work itself out. We've handled the important things. And there's some truth to that, right? You got to really know yourself, which you only figure out as you go along through life, enough to know what are the things that truly matter to you. Is it someone who's going to be there when you need someone to listen? Is it someone who's going to give you space when you're freaking out? Like which of those do you need? Neither is good or bad, but what do you need? Because you need to know that in order to have a person in a really solid, good relationship. And this applies to your workspace as well, pretty much everything, but you're going to figure that out as you go along. And this is something that I love when it comes to relationships specifically. Because have you ever experienced this phenomena where you meet this person and you're like, eh, right? They're an they're only so on the look scale and their conversations, whatever, and you can take it or leave it. But the more you get to know them and the more their personality starts to come through and the more time you spend with them and the more you experience yourself with them, the more you're like, wow, like you're seeing them from this whole new lens and suddenly they are captivating and they just steal your breath away and the whole world kind of falls away when you're with them and you struggle to understand why you were so meh when you first met them because now they're just so amazing to you. And that's where the problem comes in when you're like, I'm so fixated on this one, like here's my list. These are my top 10 non-negotiables, must be, must have tall, dark, and handsome, must have this level of income, must be, college graduate, must have this debt to income ratio, right? Not saying those stuff doesn't matter, but there's things that matter more. And it's really important to know yourself and know what you need from a relationship before you can find it with someone else.
I wonder sometimes if when we manifest consciously, as you mentioned, tall, dark, and handsome. He has to have this debt to income ratio. And then if we do so unconsciously, we say,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
this is what I really want, but we're doing it on a level that we're not fully aware of. Is that what you mean when you say some of the things that you're saying?
Yeah. Actually, science has proven that at least 80% of our daily activities are done unconsciously because our brains are highly efficient and they will automate as much as humanly possible. Right? So you don't think about showering, you just do it. You don't think about brushing your teeth. You don't think about driving past the point where you learn to drive, right? If you think back to when you were learning to drive, white knuckle grip on the steering wheel and you're checking your mirrors every 5 seconds and you are trying, like you're making sure you can reach the blinker and which direction does it go and you are watching around you and you like you're tense and panicked the entire time. Because like when I was learning to drive, I got this speech from my mom about how you were in a weapon that was going 60 miles an hour and you needed to be really conscious of that and the people around you, right? Like you're freaked out trying to figure this out. You're trying to figure out like where is the spacing on the lanes. If we spent our lives in that space, nobody would drive, right? Nobody ever would drive anymore. But we figure it out. We do it enough that we gain comfort with it and then we gain confidence in it. And then now we're like on our phones. Please don't be on your phone while driving. But you get what I'm saying. You're having a meal, you're eating, you're drinking, you're handing kids snacks at the stoplight if you're me. Right. You get to this level where it works. And we do that with so many things. I mean, how many times have you driven to work or home or the grocery store and you can't remember the drive? Like you're just point A to point B. You don't remember anything that happened there. You're like, thank God I got here safely. Sure hope I honored all the laws of the road, right? Hope I didn't get caught on a traffic cam. But there's so many things in our lives that our brain just makes happen because it's so highly efficient. And all of that is driven by unconscious behavior, unconscious beliefs and cores and things like that all drive that. That's one of the biggest things I work with my clients on is where we start. In my 12-week program, I start with that belief because belief drives all of those things. And when I talk about belief, belief is basically just thoughts you keep having. And they're things that come from your parents, your upbringing, life experiences. It's all these stories that kind of shape who you are and how you perceive the world. And that is the thing that drives that autopilot. And so those are the things that drive the unconscious manifestation. Conscious manifestation makes up maybe 10%, maybe for people who are truly into the field. We probably can bump that up to 15, 20, like someone like me, even me. There's only so much that consciously you manifest. And there's all sorts of tools you work with to make that happen, but a lot of it is unconscious. And so that is where, like I talked about, you have to know yourself. You have to be really in touch with what it is you truly want, what it is that you're trying to experience. And I was just talking about this with a group of people because I was doing a visualization challenge. It comes down to everything we want in life comes down to an emotion. Everything we want to experience, everything we want to have, everything we want to do links back to an emotion we want to experience. It's all driven by that. So it's really important to get in touch with what is that emotion for you? In the relationship, is it a sense of companionship? Is it a sense of partnership? Is it a sense of security? There's probably several things in something like that, but there's a few that are the most poignant when you really reflect on it. And the same thing comes up with finances or social circles or family, holidays, like all of these things link back to an emotion. If you were trying to buy a home, my family and I are currently manifesting a home. There's a lot to unpack about what we want in the home. And yes, being super clear that we want 5 bedrooms and such, kitchen that I could actually cook in and backyard for the kids to play in. Those are important. Like I said, you have to be clear on these things. But it's more than just the, bucket list that you hand the realtor. It's about what does that home feel like, right? Is it a place where you just really can take a deep breath and feel like this is my space? And you can own that and feel secure in that and comfortable in that. And then what do you need around you to make that happen? Is it a certain sense of making it your own through like fixing up things and DIYing or, remodeling? Or is it all done for you? That's me. I don't do that. I want it done, right? I want to walk in and have it done. And, there's so much more that you can get into when it comes to that. But it really does relate back to knowing yourself and knowing what this emotion is that you want to have through this experience or through this acquisition, because that is going to drive everything else. And then you can put that 80+% of your daily activities, that autopilot, unconscious behavioral stuff, into the work. And that becomes really powerful because then, like I said, the reticular activating system is looking for those opportunities. It's looking for those little things. And, you've experienced this phenomenon, right? Like you read something and then you're thinking about it, or you hear something on the radio and then you're thinking about it, and suddenly it's everywhere. Or, you're on Facebook and Google and suddenly you're seeing it all because the algorithm's spitting it at you. Your brain does the same thing. Like they learned that from the way your brain operates. So once you've let it know something that you're interested in, you're going to find it everywhere. And that is so cool if you can be really clear about what it is you're trying to have.